Shalom, people. This is Brother Laos coming at you with another video. And from time to time, if I have any dreams that I think is of significance on my wife, um, I'll bring them forth to you in a video. And this is one such case. This dream that I had, it was a few days before the eclipse that we just had. And in the dream, I was walking through this jungle-like area full of streams and, hanging vines and different things like that. I'm not sure where it was at. I'm almost inclined to believe it was somewhere in the jungles of Central or South America. That's the impression that I got. But I was walking and I came to this stream, and it was a pretty wide stream, but it was real, how those jungle streams look in Africa, where the water is just dark brown and you can't see anything to the bottom. And for some reason, I knew that it was some kind of a danger in the water, but I knew that I had to get across the stream. So I heard the voice of who I believe was Father Yahuwah. And I can hear the voice saying, "Don't be fearful. Grow across the stream, the river, and go to the other side. Don't look back. I'm going to take care of you." Well, as I sat there at the foot of the river, the stream, I could feel the fear coming to me, because I felt, hey, it's some crocodiles down in here that's waiting to eat me up. But it was like a test of faith. And I said, but if Father Yahuwah, if this is you telling me to do it, I have to be obedient. And so I didn't hesitate, but I did have one provocation. I said, I can't breathe underwater. I can't hold my breath. But I heard Father Yahuwah said, look, go down in the water. I'm going to help you to hold your breath while you're under there. Don't worry about it. So I started walking, and I started walking down into the water. And as I got down underneath the water, just like Father Yahuwah said, I held my breath, and it was almost like it was effortlessly. So it was almost to the fact that it didn't matter that I was underwater. I was okay. But what started causing me to waver a little bit is it was so dark under there. And as soon as my foot hit the bottom of the river, I looked off, peering with my peripheral vision to my left and the right, and I could see it was crocodiles lined up on both sides of me, looking at me as I was walking underneath that water, trying to get to the other side. But it was like a force held them back from coming at me, but they didn't seem like they wanted to attack me. They was just looking at me walking under the water, and it was like they was just there. So then I got to, I guess it would be considered the middle part of the river, and the water got even darker than it was from where I had came. And it was so much so that I couldn't see nothing in front of me, because like I said, I could see those crocodiles on the left and the right. You know, they was probably about arm's length away from me. But then when I got to that middle part, it got dark, and all of a sudden, out of that darkness came this gigantic crocodile. I mean, he was massive, and he was basically looking me eye to eye. And I heard the Father Yahuwah said, "Don't fear. Just keep walking. Don't worry." So as I was looking at that gigantic crocodile, eye to eye, snout to snout, he just veered off and started walking. Right? I mean, started swimming back in front of me. And I remember the Father Yahuwah telling me, he said, lift your hands up and spread your arms. Spread your hands. And I spread my hands, and all of a sudden the water parted. It parted in the river. And I could see that gigantic crocodile. I mean, he was massive. He was like maybe the size of a bus. He was walking in front of me. I could see him now. He was walking up out of the river onto the shore. And so I was right behind him. And then I heard Father Yahuwah say, get on his tail, because he was that big. I got on his tail, and he just kept walking to this field. And we got in this field, and then I was sitting on his tail, so he started turning and twisting in the opposite direction. I'm on his tail, so Father Yahuwah said, okay, get off of his tail. And I was like, wow. So I looked back at the river, and apparently it must have been other people behind me that I did not know. So I looked across the river at them, and they was all in the field, and I guess they had watched me do all of the stuff that I had did, you know, going down into the river, seeing the water parted, and the water was still parted, and seeing the crocodiles and all that stuff. And so they was sitting in the field, but I guess they was fearing what to do next. So as I was sitting there on the other side of the river, I could see the gigantic crocodile. He was walking back toward the river, and the water was still parted. The people were fearful on what to do. So all of a sudden, as I was looking across at them, I seen these crocodiles, because they were standing in this tall grass. I seen all these crocodiles just come out of nowhere, and they basically surrounded the people in a big circle where the people could not run. But the crocodiles was just there, and it was almost like Yah was using the crocodiles to corral the people, to keep them from running, because of course you're not going to run into this this ring of crocodiles. So they didn't have no choice. So I told them, I said, walk toward the river, don't fear. So, you know, the crocodiles had them surrounded where they couldn't run. The only way they could go is go forward. So they went forward, because there was a little space between the ring of crocodiles where they could walk, and they started walking toward the river. And that gigantic crocodile, he had got to the other side, and he had turned his back, and his tail was laying on the ground, and it was big enough. His tail was big enough for that whole group of people to walk up onto his tail. So all those people walked on that gigantic crocodile's tail. Then he just started walking down into that river, because remember I had told you that the water had parted. So he was walking down into the parted part, and he walked them down through the stream or whatever, and then got to the other side where I was at. He turned his tail and let them walk off, and then that was the end of the dream. And I was like, wow. Because to understand the massiveness of these creatures, it was just very like something that you see on Wild Kingdom, and you see these massive crocodiles just grabbing these wildebeests and just dragging them down to the bottom. But in this case, Yah was using these beasts to deliver us in whatever situation it was that we needed to get through this jungle. And it was like, the thing was, it required such a level of faith just to do what he said. But you can hear his voice as clear as day. I can hear his voice as clear as day. The people that were on this other side, they could hear my voice when Father Yahuwah said, tell them to, come through, right? But he made it where they couldn't flee, because they apparently, they needed to get across the stream. So he made it where he used the crocodiles as a somewhat of a barrier. Like, okay, you ain't going into these crocodiles, so you only got one. The crocodiles are not attacking you, but leaving a space for you to go through. And it almost makes me think about Revelations, where it talked about the woman, which is Yasharah, Israel, where it said when she fled into the wilderness, that it was a flood of water that had that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth toward her to drown her, and how the Bible said the earth opened up its mouth and the water went down into the earth instead of washing the people away. And it made me think about the fact that he said that the elements, the nature would be in I don't say cooperation, because Father commands them, that he would command them to help us. And it makes me think about Moshe, when he was a baby, and how the Egyptians had been throwing the Hebrew boys into the river to be eaten by the crocodiles, right? And we know that Most High's hand was on Moses so that he would not be destroyed, because the decree was going to make it where he had to be destroyed. But what we know, that Moses' mother made the basket out of bulrushes and put them in there. And I believe, this is my belief, that they said there was some crocodiles over there, especially in Africa, are so massive that it wouldn't have mattered that Moses was in a little basket. They would have ate the basket, him and everything. So that makes me to understand that the Most High providentially made those beasts not mess with Moses' little basket made out of bulrushes, which I got a short thing I want to talk about. That this to show that we are the people. But that he allowed that basket to go down that river, and then to go into the area where Pharaoh's daughter was bathing herself, and the basket came up to her. That was Yah's hand doing all that, protecting Moses from the crocodiles in the Nile River, and causing the water to bring him right where he needs to be. So I don't know what that has to do for us in the future. I've had, dreams that I talked about in the past, where I was talking about, trying to escape into a place of safety, and how going near the water. It always seems like the escape, the deliverance comes through water. But on that point of the Moses in the basket, the bulrushes, down in Hilton Head, South Carolina area, and really all throughout the Gullah Geechee area of North and South Carolina and parts of Georgia, they have they have this grass. It's called sweet grass. And when our people got there in slavery, the ones that were able to escape into the swamps of North, South Carolina, and Georgia, and after the Civil War, those that went back into the swamps to get away from the white man, our people have, or the women have brought in a technique of weaving with that sweet grass, where they was able to make uh, all the things that needed. And they basically, this is the same thing they was doing in Africa, where they was making bowls and making baskets and making cups and all these things, right? Which you, if you go to West Africa and really all throughout parts of Africa, you can see it is a skill, right? That where they can weave this sweet grass so tight that you can actually put it on water and float. Me and my wife have several of those sweetgrass, not just baskets, right? But in fact, here's one. I'm gonna show it to you right here. Excuse for the thing, but this is one right here that was weaved by the lady. See how it looks right here? I got stuff in there, but just think about a basket big enough for a baby, right? And we actually, when we went down to Hilton Head some years ago, right? The lady actually showed us a basket, and we asked her, said, "Can that float?" She said, "Oh yeah, you know." So you can imagine, right? And even when we went to the National Black Museum in Washington D.C., they had these sweet grass baskets on display, and they were and understand, family, they're worth the money that you pay for them, because they put a lot of time and effort. And that little basket I showed you right there, that probably was a couple $100, but it's worth it because they put, this is the only thing they do. It's how they make their living, right? Unfortunately, right now, a lot of the areas where the sweet grass used to grow naturally, they even ever have either sprayed to destroy it, or where it used to grow, they got these massive golf plantations now where they can't get to it. So that's taking away economy of our people. But just think about, this is again showing that we are the people, because you know that is a skill that is only found in Africa right now. So I don't know if that, you know, would be an encouragement to some of you, because you know how we are about going into certain places, you know, when it comes to like safaris and different things like that you see in Africa. A lot of times you're not going to see our people on there. Now that's not to say, you know, I'm not talking about the African people, because obviously they live there, and I'm talking about us here in America. You don't see a lot of us going on safaris and different things like that, because of our, you know, this fear that that they have allowed, we have allowed to come into us, because of all these things. And the Most High is, you know, trying to get us. He's gonna have to. He is. It's not a worry to him, but he is going to get us to a place where, when he speaks and tells us to go and do certain things, that we are going to be able to do it. But take no thought for it, right? Because in the day that it happens, you'll know his voice. So with that, I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Be blessed.